Okay, oh, thanks, Jim. Okay, yeah, I think we found it. I think we are recording.
Yeah, we're good.
Woohoo! Okay, hopefully we don't accidentally kill the recording somehow. That's why I let Eric. All right, for those of you just joining, please make sure to go to the Slack community planning channel to have discussion. We will not really be monitoring the webinar interface for questions and thoughts.
You should post a link to the Google Doc.
And there's a Google Doc.
Yeah.
So I will post it here somewhere. Handouts. No, I don't know where to post it. Send to all. Okay, there's the Google Doc. I think I sent it to all through the webinar interface, and we've got it. I'm just going to paste it in here again for those of you new joining just now. So please join the Google Doc. That's where our agenda is. And we will get started. I know we're so omni-channel. It's like amazing. All right. So I wanted to start with a little origin story, just for those of you who are new to the community and haven't been with us since the beginning. In case you don't know us, I'm Megan Miller. I work at Stanford University. I'm leading up a service design effort in the central IT organization at Stanford. And Eric works at Intuit. Do you want to say a little thing?
Yeah, I work at Intuit for the QuickBooks half of the company that offers the products and services to the small business owners in Mountain View, California, and I am the co-CEO of the practicalservicedesign.com web effort in the community.
So Eric and I met 2 years ago or something, and we became like collaborator buddies and conference buddies, and we published this blueprinting ebook. And then last year in November for the Service Experience Conference in San Francisco, when I was speaking, we were like, wait a minute, let's like do this crazy experiment and let's launch our website and our ebook and also a Slack community and just see what happens. And so in November of last year, we just put this out here in the world and started handing out these cute, silly little business cards that were like, join the Slack community. And really what the driver, the motivation behind everything we do with practical service design and the community and our ebooks and everything else, all the talking we do with you guys, is that we really, as practitioners, have felt lonely. So I think that at the root of all of this, the origin story is that we're trying to do service design in these real-world work contexts and running into all sorts of challenges, whether that's politics or bureaucracy or not knowing how to do a certain method or trying to do new things. And there's, especially out here on the West Coast, there really isn't a strong network of practitioners who are willing to share how they do things. So we decided, because we've been helping each other out, like we wanted to help other people out and we wanted other people to help us out. So we decided to do this virtual community of practice. And in case any of you have never heard that term before, a community of practice is exactly what it sounds like. It's a community of practitioners who are willing to share their practice and kind of teach each other and troubleshoot with each other and collaborate and go deep on that practice. So we wanted to try to do something virtually because we know that meetups are hard. We're both parents, we both have kids. Like meetups are hard, in-person stuff's hard. Conferences only happen like a couple of times a year in random places for service design. And the service design network is great, but there's no place to really connect day to day. And what we wanted was a place where, like, I have a question, I can just ping the Slack community and get 10 answers within an hour. And I cannot tell you over the last year, I'm sure a lot of you have similar stories, how valuable that's been to be able to lean on this community to develop our practice in service design. So that's kind of the origin story. And after November, so November we launched the website and the community. Within a month, we had 200 people. Mm-hmm. And we had our first, if you remember the Christmas tree last time, if you joined us, a few of you were with us, we did our first community town hall, like the second month we had launched this community, because, Eric's doing a selfie right now, because we wanted to figure out, okay, all these people are are interested in this community, but we don't know what to do with it. And we got a lot of ideas out of that. We tried a lot of different things over this last year, and we're coming up on starting year 2. And now we have 1,300 people in our Slack community. And I know that many of them are just lurkers, but that is a legitimate form of peripheral participation, to get nerdy on you, that we want to encourage in this community of practice, which is that someone who's scared to ask a question and scared to engage can still follow along and read and gain value from the community. Now, the tricky part is we've been really struggling to scale this community in a meaningful and valuable way. We don't want to just be this like crazy Slack rambling discussion, which often happens all the time and is valuable, and we need that, but we want to be more than that. So the next thing I want to talk about is kind of this vision for the future that we have, which is we want our community to mature and manifest into a true community of practice, where we have mentorship, we have sharing of practice, where we're really connecting people and projects around interests, and also helping this new generation of service designers, because I would bet that 90% of the people in our Slack community, maybe more, would consider themselves new to service design and not experienced in service design. And we are at the front of the wave, and we need to help people get up on top of it to go surfing. That was a bad metaphor. I'm not the metaphor person, Eric's the metaphor person. But so I believe, as community leaders and the people who are on this call today, you fall in that category, need to help this next generation of service designers, kind of level up. And there aren't enough resources. There are not enough classes. There are not enough degree programs. There are not enough workshops. There are not enough books. There's just not enough out there. And so we at Practical Service Design is all about, like, how do we make this practical? How do we help people develop their practice? And how do we develop practice together? So what I would like to see for our community is, a year from now, we look back and say, like, the second year, we really turned ourselves into a community that really supports all levels of experience in service design, has an outlet for those semantics discussions that go on forever and ever and ever. I point fingers at you, Jonathan, and many others, but I love them. I love that, and we want that too. We want space for all of that to happen, and we want to create resources for people. So that's kind of like the big picture on why we're doing this, why we're here, and where we want to be. And the next thing on my agenda, I'm flipping back and forth, is some level setting. So Eric and I both work full-time. We both have kids and families, and we do this on our own time on the side, usually after the kids are in bed, or like randomly at lunch hour at work, or we're just kind of in Slack 24/7 on our phones in our beds because we're weird. So this is a labor of love, and we want to shift into kind of a more formalized community, and you guys are important for that to happen. So that's what we're here to talk about today. If you're here on this call and you're like, whoa, I don't want to do anything to help this community, then leave. Use the law of 2 feet and leave. So Eric's like, don't say that. No, but I'm honest, because really what we want to talk about today is how you can engage and help build this community and take it to the next level. And it doesn't have to be a big commitment, but we are really looking for people to step up and take on some leadership roles with the community. Okay, did I scare a bunch of people off? I'm looking, no? Okay, nobody's leaving. Okay. Any thoughts so far? I'm going to turn to the Slack channel. I'm not reading it. Eric's reading it. Wow, okay, there's like pizza smiley faces going on. This is great. I really love that. That's awesome.
Keep it loose.
Have we determined levers of success? Yeah, I think that's something we need to think about. Absolutely. Like designing more Slackbot responses. Yes, we definitely need that. Yeah, so okay, anybody have some thoughts before we dive into the specifics of what we want to talk about? What's a lever of success? I would say it's how do we want to measure success for this community endeavor? Do we measure it by like people who give a testimony that they're new to service design a year later feel like they can run with it or something? So there's lots of ways. How do we measure whether we're doing the right thing or not? Yes, absolutely. I think we have to experiment a lot, yeah, and we have to get a lot of feedback. I would value qualitative metrics way more, or a survey or something um, in this world. Or we can look at kind of activity in channels, different types of activity. I don't know how well Slack, lets you export Slack metrics, but we can look at that too. So if people are really excited about that, like this is what we want. We want people to kind of run, run with ideas. Tim asks a very good question: is Slack the future for us? So a few of us did a pilot with River, which is a Slack competitor. It is free and it's unlimited and it has discussion threading, and I was really interested to try it out. So we ran that a few weeks ago and we determined that it sucked. So right now I don't see a good alternative to Slack. I also have heard rumors on the web that Slack is bringing in threaded discussions. So I think there's some things we can maybe look forward to in Slack. The thing is, yeah, the threading is hard, yeah. The thing is, I think we really just need to adopt becoming, as Nathan said, an omni-channel community. Right now we have just pinned our community on Slack, but as we're going to talk about in our agenda going forward, there's actually more tools at our disposal that will help us. Exactly. How are we documenting knowledge? Yep, exactly. So I think there's more tools at our disposal. I think Slack is still the best for real-time, day-to-day, like question answer discussion. Right now, it's the best tool. We never went into this with the idea that we would be archiving all community discussions till the end of time. So we don't have a problem with the free version of Slack where things die after 10,000 messages, except that we do need a way to capture it. And that's the omni-channel plus community leadership plus process thing that we need to figure out for our community. We need to blueprint that thing. Yes, wiki discussion. So why don't we dive into some topics? If things come up, we can jump back and forth. Let me dive into service design. Yes, exactly. Service design, our community as a service. Absolutely. I mean, you're right. There's onboarding, there's knowledge transfer, there's specific troubleshooting of people's problems. There are all sorts of use cases we're solving in this community. So yeah, we can definitely, think about designing that. Okay, all right, let's dive in. Eric's giving away secrets. Okay. So I've been doing a lot of thinking about this and talking with various members of you and Eric about some ideas. And I attended a Communities of Practice Leadership Summit in August. Here at Stanford, we have a very formal on-site Communities of Practice program. We have dozens of communities of practice. We have website tools to support them. It's very robust, and we had Doug Look. I don't know if Doug's on the call, but Douglas Look, who's part of our community, he works at Autodesk. He just completed a bunch of really great research on communities of practice and what makes them successful. And so I came up with this list of things that I really think should be things we do this year as experiments. So I want to talk about those. Just interrupt me if people are having an important side conversation, okay? So community leaders, this is for you guys. Eric and I want to recognize, acknowledge, and kind of validate the roles that you guys can play in building our community. So we want to create a new community leadership role. It is volunteer, but think of it as something official, and you could, if you care, you could put it on your resume, whatever, but we're gonna have a spot in our new website, more coming soon on that, to have like a community leader directory. We put your picture, we'll make a funny title for you. Like Lucas, you get to be like the king of the map or whatever. And we'll put people up there for what they're doing. And it doesn't matter if you have an idea and want to run with it like Lucas did with the PSD map. We'll make you a community leader, and that can be your role until you want to adopt more responsibilities. So we want to really recognize the work that people are putting into this community. We want to officialize it. So that's kind of more of an announcement for you guys that we want to make that role official. And in the future, I think, you know, we have, so this is, now you get some secret kind of behind the scenes into Eric and my life. We call ourselves the board, the Practical Service Design Board, and we have board member meetings every week. We're nerds. So we have our board member meeting notes that we talk about practical service design. And so eventually, you know, we might want to expand that idea of more, there's an official board for this community that kind of really are the core members that run it and do the hard stuff like organizing these town halls and stuff. Yes, we want partners in crime, absolutely. Labor of love, you guys get it. So the call to action for you today, and we'll put this out to the community broadly too, is if you are interested in stepping up and becoming a community leader, we want to recognize you and we want to give you something to do. So that's the call to action. So the next thing I want to bring up is something that several people have emailed us about, which is why are people not participating in Slack? Can we do a survey to understand why they're not participating? Okay, community full of designers. I'm sure we all want to run surveys on ourselves. I'm in full support of this. A guy named Arun, I don't know if he's on the call today. Let me check. I don't think he is. Arun emailed me. I don't think he's really participated much at all in our Slack community, but he emailed me with this question, and then I posed back to him. I was like, "Come up with what you think that survey questions should contain. Like, let's do this. Like, it can't just be me and Eric doing all of this." So this is one area that people can volunteer in if you're interested and feel passionate about it. Is crafting a community engagement survey to understand what people want to get out of the community. Write this down. What people want out of the community, barriers to participation. I mean, think about it. Slack is a new technology for a lot of people, so like maybe there's like trying to understand how the technology itself might be a barrier. I don't know what kind of questions we could craft around that, but you get the idea. You know, how we could engage you better. All right, I'm getting a tap on the arm.
Joseph asks about official relationships with networks like SDN, which I wasn't something we had thought of. So maybe
yes,
we could,
let's talk about that too. Yeah,
part of the agenda here.
Yes, let's talk about that. Official ties to orgs. Yeah, / companies. I'm going to put that on there because there's a few things there. Yeah, how can we get you better, right? So you get the idea. If this excites you, like crafting a really smart survey for our community to understand community engagement, I want someone to volunteer to run with it. I would love to have a little sub-team working on it. We have a Google space, so anyone who's volunteered to do community efforts, we have a Google folder. We keep all of our stuff in for collaboration. So if you want to run with this, we'll make a little folder. That's the community engagement survey, you know, October 2016. And we'll run with it. So that's first item that has come up many, many times, and I think is an important next step for us as community leaders. Yes, I agree, Scott, about sponsorship. All right, Vaughn is volunteering. Are you volunteering? Did I read that wrong? No, Dave. Dave is volunteering. Sorry. Dave Hora is volunteering. All right, so we can start to capture this. Volunteers. Dave. Sweet. Can people edit the Google Doc or just comment?
Comment.
Okay, if you want to, just comment. You can just comment directly on this word volunteers if you want to volunteer. So just comment or put your name. Nathan can edit. Oh, because Nathan has access to this folder. Yeah, perfect. Power, yeah. Okay, so I have a few people to run with this, and we can bring it back to this community leadership group, the community planning channel, and say, here's our survey, you have until Friday to give feedback, etc. Right? I'm a project manager at heart, if you hadn't noticed.
You also wants to know what you mean by research the community. Just clarify that.
Research the community. For the engagement survey?
Dave commented he would
research the
like to
community.
help
Did I put that
around
somewhere, or
research
did I
on
say that?
community.
Ah, yeah. Oh, yes, yes, yes. So I think right now I'd like to really focus efforts on an engagement survey, because if we're going to put all this work into these activities for our community, I want to make sure they're hitting the mark. So I would say, like, number one important thing is the engagement survey. Research on our community is a different topic, and let's talk about that when we get the metadata section, Dave. Does that sound good? And research. I'm going to put research. I don't know exactly what we're going to talk about yet, but let's talk about it there. All right, we got lots of volunteers. Awesome, awesome. That's a new secret Slackbot response, by the way. All right, so for those of you who are volunteering on that engagement survey, we can follow up with you to create a little Google folder and just let you guys run with it and get you access. So, perfect. All right, let's talk about official ties with companies. So we have been approached by companies for sponsorship, maybe like unofficially. A few of them have talked to us about that. Mm-hmm. And we have had several discussions with Birgit and others. What's his name? The guy that runs the SDN website. I forget his name. Anyway, we've done like video calls with Europe about SDN and collaboration, because they are very interested in our community, which makes total sense. They don't have something like what we're doing, and there's lots of possibilities there. But I wanted to share kind of Eric and my stance on official ties and sponsorships. One is we don't want sponsorships. we don't want to be beholden to Adobe or what. Like, we don't want that. So I think at least right now, that's like we're not interested. Not interested in company sponsorships. The other thing is we're not interested in letting SDN take over this show. And we've thought a lot about this, and very hard. And we were active also in the the Bay Area SDN chapter for a while on their planning calls and stuff, just trying to understand what our relationship is to SDN, because this could very easily become the SDN virtual community, right? But what we don't want is barrier to entry. Like, that is the number one thing we don't want. And SDN, we're worried that the price of SDN membership and the kind of idea that you'd have to be an SDN member to join the community really turns us off. I don't know what's going on in Slack. I might be offending a ton of people. But yeah, so it's not that we're not interested in partnering. We are absolutely interested in partnering. We have many channels. Actually, we have some private channels for different SDN chapters in our community. We love that. We have lots of SDN members. I mean, Birgit's in here. She's in our community. We have all sorts of leaders in that community here, including Rich, who's in this video call. So I think the idea with what we're trying to do, as I shared at the beginning, is we really want a community of practice. This is about helping each other develop our practices. We want no barrier to entry. We want to help those new to service design have a way to enter, and like at no cost, at no nothing, and just ask the stupid questions and get answers, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah, so we are definitely partners. We support both. We're both SDN members. We love what SDN does, and we try to help that as well, and we try to offer the virtual space as a support for real-time events. So we're kind of like offering a virtual channel to the things that SDN is doing. Yeah, so, okay. So hopefully does that clear things up? I mean, if I really offended anyone, let me know, but that's just kind of our stance and how we feel, and I hope you guys feel the same way. Yeah. Okay. All right. I'm gonna keep it moving. We're at 11:30. Okay. Let's talk about community metadata and research. So the one big regret that I have about our community. Are you ready? You know what this is, I'm sure. My biggest regret about this community is that we did not ask for metadata from the beginning. So what I'm talking about as far as metadata is not a lot. I listed it here in the agenda. Location, in-house or agency, or both, or whatever. What are your areas of interest and growth? What are your areas of expertise? And what industries are you working in? That's the metadata I'm talking about. Yeah. And I regret that our MailChimp sign-up form didn't have these fields from day one. We have 1,300 people in our community, and Slack doesn't, at least the free Slack, doesn't give you the ability to field the profile where you can add these as custom fields to the profile. And so what's happened is, from the get-go, this has been our big Achilles heel. People are like, God, I want to find other service designers in my location, or I want to find other people who are interested in IT, or I want to, right? And because we have no way to track this, we have no way to help our community connect. Because it's great to connect broadly about service design, but what's even better is when we get a group of, like, I meet 6 other people who are in IT doing service design, and I'm like, holy shit, you know what I'm talking about. That's even better. And what I would love it is if you're going to be part of this community, you need to share this metadata. And it could be broad, like location could just be SF Bay Area. You know, it doesn't have to be specific data, but that we come up with some taxonomy of, you know, areas of interest or taxonomy of expertise or industries, and we create this metadata around our community profiles. Yes, we can still get the metadata. So this is I'm telling you my biggest regret, because I think our first year kind of like sucks because we didn't have this. Like I really think it's been the biggest barrier for us. So we use MailChimp to collect signups. It's really important because we need to be able to email the whole community. So it's like MailChimp is a critical part of our omni-channel community, whatever. MailChimp is fieldable. So what's my idea currently, and I'm hoping we can generate some more ideas here, is to add those fields to the MailChimp profile. And what you can do is you can send out a campaign to everyone over MailChimp that says, you know, explains what we're doing and the link and says, please update your profile, and we can collect that data in MailChimp. That can be exported to CSV, whatever we want, right? So, okay, good, I'm glad you like that. So that's my plan right now, and, yes, and, so that's like, let's get the data for the people who are part of our community now, right? And then the other part is we change the sign-up form to have those fields on it, like starting tomorrow or as soon as we can get this set up, so that anyone who joins from now on fills out that metadata from the beginning. And what that lets us do is, as community leaders, we can have access to that data, or we can make that data available to the community through some sort of, you know, private doc, or I don't know, we could figure that out. But it could let us, for example, we could analyze it and we could create a set of topic channels and invite all the people that indicated they were interested in those topics, right? So I think this metadata could be really powerful for doing things in the future. So this effort of configuring the MailChimp, sending out the campaigns, getting people to fill out their profiles, encouraging people to fill out their profiles, changing the website sign up. There's a bunch of stuff to do around this that I've just been too busy to do, but I want to do it, and so I kind of need like other people who are excited about this to kind of help out. So I know there's a discussion going on in Slack right now, but hopefully some of you are also thinking about this metadata question. Any thoughts on this? Augmenting whatever. Yeah. Okay, awesome. Okay, I'm going to put a little volunteers section here. So please, let's collect folks. Now, the timing of all this, we can discuss whether it makes sense to do which thing first, or, I'm sorry, I'm spelling all your names wrong. Raphael, Tobias. Tobias, are you volunteering? You just like the idea. 2 cents is more data is a distraction if your goal is to get more engagement now. Yeah, it's just, there have been so many times this year when having that data would have helped everybody. So I'm kind of like, it's like a lesson learned. A huge amount of data on each. Well, it's it's helpful if the reason they're not engaging is because they can't find their subcommunity. The thing, and the best part of having that in MailChimp is we could send specific campaigns to that particular segment. So you can say, everyone working in the higher ed industry, you can send a MailChimp campaign that's like, hey, we're going to have a little virtual meetup next week at 5 p.m. So if you're a community leader in the high ed industry, these are hypotheticals, you could reach out to that segment. So I'm trying to like solve a bunch of problems I've seen happen in this community over the last year. I know, Rich. I know. I know there's only like 30 people that really participate, but yeah, it is. And exactly, like a growing, lots of little communities growing. But that's what we need to happen because there's no way 1,300 people can be a community. If no leader, no channel. That's an interesting idea. Mm-hmm. And this could be a grand experiment where like nobody except you, 30 people, fill out your profile. Yeah, yeah, okay. Reasons you want metadata, sure. Okay, I'm gonna not look at your Slack for a minute because I have to think. Yeah, thank you for taking notes, Nathan. Yeah, so helping members find their subcommunities. So this is connecting around location. So this is facilitating meeting people in person outside of Slack. Connecting around industry, which I think is to me, a big one, which is finding other people who work in the same industry I do and the challenges that I'm facing in my industry. Connecting people who want to learn more about specific things with people who know a lot about those specific things. So that's the areas of interest versus areas of expertise. That one's maybe more about like mentorship and so if we have a lot of people expressing interest in growth in the area around, I want to learn how to do user research, for example, and lots of people are expressing interest in growing around that, that would help us create a channel for that. It would help us create events to support that. So we could have a panel, a webinar on user research. So it's like, maybe that's more of a survey than it is the metadata. I don't know. But I see there's the connecting people around location, connecting them around industry, connecting people in a mentorship or growth way around areas of interest and expertise. I think those are the big ones. Okay. Yeah. Exactly. So there's a lot of people I think that don't want to be in Slack and chatting. It's not their biggest mode of communication, but we've had a lot of turnout at like webinars and things. So it's kind of, if we tried more things in different channels, we might get more engagement. I know. Yeah. Each channel is friction. But if we can make it seamless, like so far, we have a bunch of channels. We have Google Docs, we have the Slack, obviously, we have MailChimp, we have the website. So we already have a bunch of channels, and the Wiki, which is starting. So we already have a bunch of channels. We have to figure out how to make that, as community leaders, help that gel, because there's no way this community is going to mature without more channels. Yes, one channel to message each other. Yeah, no more different chat. We can't have lots of chat apps. That's true. Well, not Google, but yeah, channels are one way. Okay, so let's keep going because I want to be respectful of your time. We've got a lot of ideas here. If people are interested in continuing to talk about this metadata piece, put your name here and we can talk more. I want to touch on what Dave brought up of community research. I mean, I think a few people have expressed research in or interest in mining our community for data, like learning how people enter the field of service design, or there's lots of, it's a segmented community, so I could see why people would want to learn more about it. I think all of those ideas, I think we want to float them out there and see what people want to learn if there's interest. But my main focus is about how do we facilitate the community in becoming more mature, and so that's that I'm interested in the metadata. And maybe it's just location and industry. Maybe it's super, maybe we keep it really simple. I don't know. Okay, let's move on. So one thing that we have noticed in other Slack communities that we have been observing, there's a few of them. Scott, I think, shared a lot of his experience in running his community, is that successful virtual communities have a regular email newsletter. This makes me like giggle because the last thing I want to do is make a MailChimp e-newsletter every week. But maybe if we took turns, so this is my proposition to you guys, weekly rotation or something, that this could be really valuable. So the feedback we have gotten from the community that a newsletter would solve this use case for is, I missed a whole bunch of conversation. I don't know what happened this last week, and it's hard to go back through Slack. That's the number one feedback. And then the other, more specifically, it's like I didn't get to see all the links because I wasn't in there 24/7 like you. So there's it's kind of like solving this use case of like, you weren't in the Slack, so here's what you missed. The other thing it would do is drive participation for the folks that don't ever log into Slack, because my hypothesis, which I would like the survey team to test in the survey, is that a lot of people don't have Slack set up like on auto launch on their computers or phones because they don't use it for work or they don't use it for their normal life. So Slack is only for this community, and so they never log in. And they log in maybe every 3 months when they remember or see a tweet from me and Eric or whatever. So my hypothesis is that if we have more broadcast one-way communication back, that's like, here's what you missed, it will drive more participation in the community. Let's see what people are saying to that. Yeah, he was like over other teams. Yeah. So it's one of the two, maybe. I don't know. But that's what we should, I think I want to learn that in the survey, because I really do feel like there's going to be some just simple technology type barriers. Okay, so let's start. People are running ahead. So ideas for what goes in the newsletter. I'd love to brainstorm with you guys. Scott shared a example newsletter from his online community with me and Eric last week. Maybe, Scott, can you paste that into the channel as an example? Because I don't remember where that link went. But what he has is kind of like little snippets from what people, thank you. So if you click on that link from Scott, you'll see some examples in there of like what he's got in his newsletter for his community. We are lucky to have other experienced community leaders. And so you've got like kind of big topics of the week, calendar of events, so everything that was shared in like the events channel, for example, best conversations, little snippets, links that were shared, right? Jobs that were shared. So it's just kind of like a rundown. Rich's rants, yeah, exactly. Rich, you get like the op-ed sidebar in the newsletter.
That'd be actually pretty funny.
That'd be pretty funny. Yeah.
That's like the column in the newspaper where it's like, let me tell you something.
I'll tell you. Okay, so the way that Scott talked us through how he does this, and a suggestion came up to create what we're calling the best of channel. We could call it something different, like highlights or newsletter snippets or whatever. But the idea was, in Slack, if you see something you think should be part of the newsletter, you can do that little on the right. When you hover over a message, and on the right, you go to the little share icon. So share message, and then you can share it to the best of channel. And like, that's pretty simple. It's like one click to save something for the newsletter into a channel. And then we just go back every week and like look, keeping your British service online, when are going to go through. Yes, we know, Rich. That's why you have conferences and events and stuff. So yeah, so what the idea was, let's pilot this, let's like see if this works. The thing is, we can't have like you guys posting a bunch of shenanigans in there because they're funny. Like, we can't just have funny stuff. We have to have like the meaningful stuff. So this is something like all of us could do as we're watching channels and conversations throughout the day. Yes, we'll need editors. Post the snippets to the best of so we can collect it. The other thing I want to throw out there is like we desperately need someone who can program Slackbot. Like it'd be so cool if Slackbot could like collect any links shared in a week and like spit out a report or something. Like God, that'd be awesome. Slack is like, I know it is. Yeah. So best of and pinning. Yep. So I was thinking we could kind of pilot this and like just see what happens, and if possible, have some sort of like people who are willing to actually be the edit. I guess this would be like an editorial role, like a weekly rotation editorial role that actually like takes all that stuff and like puts it in a Google Doc, and then Eric and I can paste it into MailChimp or something. So anyway, that's the idea. Open to suggestions. I think that having an email newsletter will drive. This is another hypothesis. I think that having an email newsletter will drive engagement with the people who aren't in Slack that often. A few weeks at a time. That's a good idea. Like a month. Like everyone signs up for a month or something. Yeah, so the idea would be to every week have a day where you go look at the best of channel and like copy everything out to a Google Doc and edit it, and then we paste it into MailChimp. Just an idea. All right, Nathan's up for trying this with me. Okay, cool. Nathan, we're going to be best buddies. Part of the struggle is many other rules do. Yeah. Nobody understands what we do. Yeah. Yeah, having a few weeks. That's good point. I was thinking like a Google Docs like editor workflow of some kind where the last step is pasting it in. And we'll have a MailChimp template, so it's hopefully wouldn't be too hard. And I can set that up. All right, we got 15 minutes left. We still have a few more topics. So again, if you're interested, put your name here or comment or ping me. All right, so another idea or another feedback point that's come up a lot is, and this is also an insight from the communities of practice research, that if you do not have regular rituals for your community to connect, your community will never mature. This is just like a fact in the research on communities of practice. So the thing that, like, what can we do with a virtual community? So with my UX community here at Stanford, we meet every Friday, 1 to 3 p.m. Like, this is insane. And you just come when you can, and there's topics and whatever. And we've been doing that every Friday for 6 years. So I know those people pretty darn well. We have a service design community practice that I started here at Stanford, and we meet monthly. But if you don't have those meetups, the community just dissolves. And so a part of me feels like, this is another hypothesis, that if we have monthly virtual meetups, we will be able to kind of anchor our community in a ritual. And it's more interactive, right? Where are you wanting to up engagement? Within the Slack community or via email? Slack community. And wherever the sub-communities want to spin off. So yeah, email is a one-way channel, absolutely. Email should be driving engagement in Slack. Yeah, so anchor the community in a ritual. Without it, we'll die, is the hypothesis. I want these to be really, like, if we do this, it needs to be really easy to pull off. Like, no pressure, like, no big, 5 different email campaign announcements, and we have like guest stars and all sorts of crazy, like, we're not ready for that yet. But what I want is to have some sort of virtual meetup where maybe we're featuring some show and tell, or maybe like we community leaders find cool people in Slack and say, hey, do you want to like share a project over the meetup next week, right? So it's very, very like show and tell type oriented with members from our community. At first, we could obviously go crazy with this and have all sorts of like online events or topic-based discussions or panels, or events could go crazy. But I would love to start with some sort of like very easy to do activity. Ritual planning, cool. I know once a month will feel very frequent, and once a quarter. Yeah, we could try that. So, yeah, Eric's giving me a time check. Okay, all right. Again, put your name down. We'll follow up if you're interested in this, in event planning and technology around event planning. All right, Service Design Wiki. Woohoo! So we have a wiki. Eric is going to talk about that and make sure he can. He's in the picture. There he is. Yeah.
So I've started a wiki with nothing in it. Because I think it's important that we have a place to start to document things and kind of build up a knowledge base, because there isn't one. There's a lot of blog posts. There's a lot of kind of like service design 101 posts, and here's a method, and all these little things, but it doesn't really go deep, and it's not maintained, and it's not in one place. Usually it's a blog post to get some traffic, and then it goes away. So what I want to do is create the kind of canonical service design wiki that everyone can contribute to and edit and start to make it kind of an official place, somewhere where when you go to Google you get the results for what people are looking for, and since it's kind of crowdsourced and edited, it's not biased towards one certain group or one certain mindset. It can kind of hold everything. And there is a service design wiki out there that hasn't been updated or touched in 5, 6, 7, 8 years, and I think it's abandoned. And so I'm really excited about the wiki because there's nowhere to go. There's nowhere to find all this stuff, and getting that populated is going to take some time, and it's going to take some editorial work, and there's going to be some rough spots about editing pages, and one person thinks it's one thing, one person thinks it's another. But eventually, I think it can become a place that everything is stored, in the way it's categorized, and the kind of topics and sections can be built around service design, not just rely on all these other different sources. And so that started up, that's coming, and people who want to contribute, we have a wiki channel and can get invited to it until we reach some sort of MVP of content, and then open it up to the world. Right now there's nothing there, and I think we need at least a base layer of content for people to use and see.
So Rich is asking, what's our vision for the wiki? Is that what you're asking, Rich? I mean, I think it's what Eric just said. That
it's not like a practical service design or a Slack wiki. It's truly like
a canonical service design.
Like the wiki for service design. It just it exists as an entity, and who knows who will end up being the chief contributors and editors. It might not be me and Megan. It might be someone else. It might be. I mean, it's
gonna be Jonathan.
It's just kind of up to the world. But we want to at least start somewhere to start collecting it, and then once it climbs Google, because there is nothing else that it is competing with. Now it helps blanket the world.
I think everything we do, we have this practicality undercurrent, because really this is about like a shared resource that helps us in our day-to-day, whether that's looking at case studies or reference material, or the definition that the community landed on for service design, or whatever it is, because we're the ones arguing about this stuff all day in Slack, and we want a place for it to live once the argument is settled, in air quotes. So if we're going to spend all this energy arguing semantics about the theory of what is a service, and we come to a conclusion as a community or whatever, then we should have a place for that to live. So that's what the wiki is, and it's the place for the content to live on beyond Slack. So this is like, if something's really good and is a really good resource and a really good reference, it should live on beyond the Slack 10,000 message history. Okay, so that's the wiki. We got 5 minutes. I'm going to move on. Again, we really would love people to jump in there. Slackbot programming, I mentioned this. My couple ideas were some sort of like new community member onboarding. Like Slackbot could be like, hey, first introduce yourself in the channel, and then like, hey, how's it going? Or I had this like crazy idea that Slackbot could be our little onboarding concierge. I don't know. And then the other thing was whether we could have Slackbot help with the e-newsletter stuff or the wiki even by like exporting or collecting links or anyway. So if you know anyone, let's just keep our ears open for Slackbot programming. Two more topics really quick. Eric and I are working on a new website for practical service design, and we have a whole community section with like 8 pages. Whoa! So there's going to be pages for, let me go look at it so I can read them off for you guys. There's going to be pages for how to join the community. I'm like having trouble here. How to join the community, how to get started in Slack, the community map, a community leaders page listing all of you awesome guys, service design wiki link, a page about how to get involved more with the community, so kind of funnel to the community leaders, and then a support page. So that, and we can put whatever else we want here too, like as a community, but that, the last topic here is Patreon, which pretty soon, if you don't know what Patreon is like Kickstarter, but for ongoing funding. And lots of creative people are using Patreon to fund their endeavors. I have one of my best friends is trying to get to the Olympics for dressage in a couple years, and she uses Patreon to cover her monthly expenses to prep for the Olympics. I mean, like, this is crazy, right? Patreon is really cool. It was founded by one of my best friends from college, Jack Conti, who's amazing. And anyway, so we're going to use Patreon to try to start covering our monthly costs for the community. So that'll be coming soon as like an announcement. And this is really to our point of we don't want sponsorship. So we would rather have the community help fund the efforts. Let me just list off some of the costs that we cover for this community. I'm sure you can imagine, but we pay $50 a month for MailChimp. We pay any sort of ancillary website hosting type things. Sometimes we're paying for technologies to do things like webinars or the wiki. How much is the wiki?
It's like $100 a year.
$100 a year for the wiki. Anyway, like it's little stuff, but it adds up. So there's some basic costs that we want to, as a minimum, just cover the basic costs of running this community. And if we want to do more with this community, like paying actually for technical tools to help us connect virtually or whatever it is, like we want that to come out of the community and be, funded so this can be more sustainable. So you're going to pay for the wiki first year. Awesome, awesome. Well, you can join the Patreon. When we get the Patreon up, you can tell it how much you want to contribute. So we just wanted to announce that to you guys. We hope that's not weird. We don't want to be weird. We want to be like, we want to be your friendly fellow community organizers. So we think Patreon's the right space for that to happen because we don't want corporate sponsorship. So that's where we're at. Anyway, that takes us up to the hour. We've got 4 minutes left to have a little bit more of a conversation. And you guys crossed that line a long time ago. That's funny. So we can continue the conversation in the community planning channel. That's what it's there for. And we will be following up with the folks who put their names down. And I guess the next step would be to maybe have regular type community planning town halls with the folks that are more engaged. So I don't know how often we want to do that. We can just talk about that. But or we can do smaller subgroup, just blue jeans or whatever. We can actually just connect and FaceTime or something to do some planning. So watching 5-year-olds play soccer. We're not like 5-year-olds, really. Come on, Rich. So yeah, any final thoughts? Yeah, we really appreciate you. That's really, we're excited. We're just so thrilled and humbled and everything to see so many people in here and to see all of you come out for this. When's the next meeting? I don't know. We'll figure that out. Let's talk about it in the channel. Yay. Yeah, awesome. Very, very cool. Okay, so we'll send out, well, you have the link to the meeting notes. We will probably coordinate over Slack until we get to like a Google Doc phase for some things, because I think Google Docs is better for collaborating on stuff. So we'll at some point, for those of you who volunteered, we'll need your email that you want to use to access the Google Docs. So maybe we'll follow up for that. Or if you want to put your email, by your name in the notes or something, whatever email you want to use to access Google Docs is the one you'd want to put in there. And if I don't see it in there, then I'll just follow up with you in Slack to get it. All right. I'm going to let you guys go, and we will talk more here in the channel. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
How do I stop this thing?
I awkwardly try to stop.
I really don't know how to stop it. Is it this? Okay, bye. No, it's not that. Crap. Eric, find the button.
Y'all can leave.
Yeah, all right, bye.